Lord Captain, the inspection of the ship's systems is complete. The tech priests are reporting the machine spirits are calm and satisfied. Everything is ready for onward travel, except there is an issue you must be made aware of.
Cassie makes a quick nervous gesture, adjusting the adornment over her third eye.
I have been studying the records left by the vessel's previous navigator. I wanted to double-check the route to Darganus and discovered that it does not match the one recorded in the Atlas. It is more than a minor warp fluctuation. The route has been wiped out. It can no longer be used for traveling. To make matters worse, I started checking the paths from the Atlas, one after the other, and saw the same thing everywhere. The warp is roiling with an ominous storm, bursting with vivid and screaming colors. It will not hinder our movement, but all previous knowledge is now utterly useless.
Argenta angrily chops the air with a side of her palm.
Warp storms are our enemies, just like heretics and demons. It is a shame they can't be dispersed with a flamer or a bolter. Now we can be certain that problems with astropathic communication in the Coronis expanse are no coincidence. There is a warp disturbance in your way, Lord Captain. It is swallowing messages and disrupting familiar routes. This means you need to locate the key worlds of the Von Valancius Protectorate as soon as possible. I am talking about Janus, Darganus, and Kiava Gamma. Charting new routes so they can be reached and restoring control will be the necessary next step.
What would the consequences of losing contact with these worlds be?
A world deprived of connection to its neighboring systems, and the Coronis Expanse's infrastructure can only rely on itself, and their capabilities are often limited. For example, Janus does not have a fleet of its own. Pirates, cultists, heretics, Xenos, anyone could prey on the helpless planet. The loss of communication is a threat to your position. A rogue trader with no protectorate to back them is one that grows weaker by the day.
The Vox Master is entirely correct. You are rogue trader Styx von Valancius, the successor to Theodora von Valancius, one of the most influential women this side of the Maw. But you are also new to the business of governing. Many will doubt your competence, and try to carve up your protectorate so they can snatch a piece for themselves. It is important to show your potential allies and foes that you are in control of the situation. Which is why the sooner we reclaim these lost worlds, the better.
A faint smile appears on Kibella's lips.
If the Faithless decide that your worlds are easy prey, that is good. We will find enough enemies in your domain, then, and we will kill them. The Undying One will look upon us with approval.
Tell me about Janus.
The surface of Janus was altered extensively so the planet could be designated an agri-world. It is a powerful food base, capable of supplying the burgeoning protectorate and exporting provisions to the outer worlds at the same time. Janus owes much of its prosperity to the Governor House of Viet. Under its leadership, the world has grown ever more prosperous year after year, securing shipments and taxes while keeping the workforce tightly controlled.
What is Kiava Gamma?
Industrial world Kiava Gamma is being managed by the Governor House of Gaprak and supplies your protectorate with rare mineral resources. Additionally, the planet features an Adeptus Mechanicus manufactorum that processes materials and prepares them for shipment.
I testify that Kiava Gamma is a world marked by the Omnisia's patronage. By his grace, the manufactorums of the colony are inhabited by committed and industrious machine spirits.
Heinrich coughs quietly.
Mistress Ptolemy neglected to mention that the Kiava Gamma manufactorum also supplies heavy machinery, from forage harvesters to vessel systems and components.
Abelard turns his hard eyes on Heinrich's.
You display commendable knowledge of our world's manufacturing capability, Van Calix. Pleased to be of service. What do I need to know about Darganus?
Darganus is the heart and soul of your protectorate. It is where the main administrative resources and storage facilities are, and so is the Von Valancius Palace. If you would like to know, this is where you will publicly accept the title of Rogue Trader. Darganus is a major administrative hub that runs the cargo fleet and keeps track of finances.
Abelard, what is your opinion? Which world should we deal with first?
Abelard strokes his beard for a few seconds before giving a hesitant reply.
Rediscovering the agri-world will supply your protectorate with something none of your servants can do without: sustenance. The importance of basic supplies should not be underestimated. Just look at Footfall in its current pitiful state. On the other hand, I am concerned by the rumors concerning Kiava Gamma. There have been no problems on Janus for many years, but something is very wrong with the industrial world right now. Delay may cost us the entire planet. I trust I do not have to explain the capital world. Losing it would make us the laughing stock of the other dynasties. Besides, the loss of chronicles and ledgers would spell a bureaucratic catastrophe, so all three systems are equally vital to the Protectorate. It falls to you to decide which should be brought into the fold before the rest, Lord Captain. Very well, our course is clear. Do my officers have any other issues that require immediate attention?
That is all, Lord Captain. The vessel and the crew await your instructions and are ready to depart Footfall immediately, should you so desire.
Greetings.
I'm waiting for you to tell me about your past and to explain the strange words of that cultist on Footfall.
Yes, I'm ready. I would ask only one thing of you, Rogue Trader. If I may, I would like to see the chamber of the Sacred Warrant and kneel before the relic touched by the Emperor himself. A difficult conversation lies ahead of us, and I wish to pray by the relic before I lay my soul bare.
Argenta nods gratefully. Officers inspire their teammates to perform at their best. An officer's playstyle involves improving allies' effectiveness and providing them with various extra opportunities to act. Argenta drops to her knees, her hands making the sign of the Aquila. Her eyes are locked on the sweeping signature on the warrant, a seemingly mundane thing, merely a flourish on a piece of paper, unless one knows whose hand left that mark and whose blood is on that paper.
If thou sayest a flaw in me, smite me. If thou knowest a fall of mine, burn me, with flames of fury and righteousness. But if thou sayest a light in me, grace me. If thou hearest this plea of mine, bless me, with wrath of fury and of righteousness.
Argenta's voice is sonorous, as if made for singing hymns and prayers, but right now she cannot seem to catch her breath, so overwhelmed with emotion is she.
For I breathe by the will of thine, for I live by the law of thine. I carry thy word, O Emperor. I bring solace to servants of thine, and ruin to foes of thine, a fate of terror and righteousness.
Upon finishing, she closes her eyes and remains silent for a long time with her head raised high. Slowly, like the first licks of flame in a campfire, a smile blossoms on her lips. When Argenta finally opens her eyes, they are alight with uncanny resolution.
Rogue Trader, we need to talk. Or rather, I need to tell you something. The truth. The truth about how I ended up on Theodora von Valancius's ship and about the cultists we encountered on Footfall.
I'm listening.
Please understand, I couldn't trust you before. I'll tell you my story, and you'll see why.
Argenta pauses.
I'll start at the beginning. It's easier to piece everything together that way. Upon arriving in the Expanse and on Footfall, I found no purpose here, only torment. I wasn't needed. The reliquary I had been assigned to safeguard was already well protected by Reverend Hieronymus's mission, and no one was even trying to defile it. For all its lawlessness, Footfall respects the worship of the Emperor. That was when Lady Theodora, head of your dynasty, appeared. She became an agent of divine will, in a way.
Argenta falters, searching for the words.
It was from her that I learned about a planet recently discovered by her scouts, Solus Prime. For a rogue trader, the planet was of little interest, a feral world away from convenient warp routes. But for me, learning about its existence was a revelation.
I've never even heard of such a planet. Does it belong to the von Valancius dynasty?
Yes, now the planet is yours by right. But it's not as simple as that the warp route leading to it was lost. I will explain in due time. May I continue? The description of Solus Prime was familiar to me. It seemed very similar to a world from an ancient legend, the legend of Saint Argenta and her ship.
Her voice grows reverent.
Argenta, the living saint, she is my patroness. The order named me after her. She died millennia ago, when heretics caused her ship to fall from the skies. But even those blasphemers could not touch Argenta's ashes or her holy relic, the One Star. For the fallen ship, which now served as the resting place for the saint's remains, would only allow the truly righteous to enter. All others would meet their death. Imagine what I felt when this flash of insight came upon me. The world where Saint Argenta's ship fell was merely a vague legend. No one knew its actual whereabouts. And suddenly, I, myself named after the saint, come across this information. I realized at that moment that it was a portent, that I must journey to the planet and find the ship. And so I asked Reverend Hieronymus to let me go for a time on a personal pilgrimage. I boarded Theodora's ship and demanded passage to the newly discovered planet Solus Prime.
Why did you keep your supposition from Reverend Hieronymus? Surely he could have helped you with the search for the ship and the saint's remains.
I couldn't just come out and tell him. It was a portent revealed to me personally, can't you see? I told Reverend Hieronymus the honest truth, that I was going on a personal pilgrimage to embolden my spirit. It really was a pilgrimage. It was as if Saint Argenta herself had shown me the way, commanding me to undertake this trial. If I had found the ship and set foot on its decks, if I had laid my hand on her remains and the relic, it would have been a sign that I truly had been blessed with the saint's favor.
That's understandable. Searching for your destiny, for your place in the world, is a special matter, a personal one. You either succeed at it, or you don't.
Argenta looks at you, somewhat surprised.
I thought that I had been called, that finding the ship was my destiny, my place in the world. Perhaps there is something to that.
I imagine Theodora was thrilled with the prospect?
Lady Theodora lent her assistance. It was her intention to visit the newly discovered world, and she took me with her.
You mentioned something called the One Star. What is it?
Apologies, I got so carried away I forgot to explain. The One Star is the relic kept by Saint Argenta. I belong to the Order Pronatus, and we attach particular significance to holy relics. The One Star is one of the lost relics of the past, so mysterious that no one even knows what it is exactly. Argenta's hagiography at times calls it a banner, or a set of armor, or a blessed chainsword. One thing is certain, it was a beacon of righteousness, and it was lost with Argenta's death.
What happened next?
Defeat.
Argenta says bitterly.
The ship's augers failed to detect anything of note during orbital scanning. I was expecting this, though, according to the legend, the ship can conceal itself from the naked eye, and only a pilgrim guided by a pure heart can find it. What I didn't expect was an ambush waiting for us on the planet. I landed there with a small unit provided by Theodora. I know Saint Argenta's hagiography by heart. I know all the legends about her. I followed their obscure clues, the descriptions of mountains and rivers from millennial tales. And I was certain that I had found the way to the ship. And that's when we were attacked. The words we heard in the heretic's shrine on footfall. Something about ways, doors, please address to some lord, the edge of daybreak.
Argenta is shaking with disgust.
They were the same words as those spoken by the cultists who attacked us on Solus Prime. My whole unit perished. All those honest, brave people I had led to search for the relic. It was only by a miracle that I didn't perish along with them. I didn't connect these events at first. The cultists on Footfall, the cultists on Solace Prime, the cultists attacking the ship, and Conrad's betrayal. What if these are all links in the same chain? What if they've long since infiltrated the ranks of the Von Valencia servants? What if I led those heretics to the sacred planet with my search?
Sadly, the only one who might have all the answers, Conrad, escaped. No need to blame yourself. If the heretics really had wormed their way into the Von Valancius ranks by then, they would have found the planet even without you going there.
I doubt it. No one except me was particularly interested in the planet. Conrad, on the other hand, he sympathized with me when I first came aboard. He helped arrange an audience with Theodora and supported me in my effort to visit the planet. I never told him plainly why I wanted to go there, but I imagine that Vulture must have figured out that it was something important, something related to the holy faith of the Imperium. And what could delight a heretic more than defiling a relic? Oh, yes, and I sincerely hope that we will meet him again. That serpent needs to answer a few questions before he is plunged into cleansing flame.
So how did you manage to escape from the cultists?
Argenta hangs her head.
Theodora's people received the distress call, came to my rescue, and brought me aboard the ship. I barely remember what happened. When they arrived, I was already severely wounded, fighting back with whatever remained of my strength. I think I shouted that we had to go after them, but they didn't listen. They took me to the shuttle and pulled out. After that, it's all blackness. When I came to, we were already in the middle of a warp jump. Theodora had urgent matters to take care of, and she decided that she could clear out the planet at a later time.
And that's why you didn't trust me before, correct?
Yes, rogue traitor.
Argenta looks you in the eye.
I saw with my own eyes how a member of your family showed his true colors as a servant of the archenemy. I had already suffered a humiliating defeat at the hands of cultists and was afraid of another betrayal. I couldn't be forthright with you, and so I studied you, looking for seeds of corruption or the light of righteousness.
And what did you find?
A man who stood shoulder to shoulder with me and helped eradicate the cultists on Footfall.
Argenta smiles, as if reminiscing about a pleasant evening spent in the company of friends rather than a bloody battle.
Although my opinion of you started to change even before then, back when you agreed to talk to the orphans at my request. A leader who's willing to honor those who laid down their lives for them and take care of their children is a leader who inspires trust. And the way you acted in that moment. Do you remember? There was a young man whose grief and confusion had driven him to insolence. You didn't turn a blind eye to his misdeed, but you chose the right words to show him the path to redemption. It was harsh, but necessary, like the Emperor's truth, like bitter medicine that helps the sick. I learned much about you in that moment, rogue traitor, and I want to believe that I wasn't mistaken in my judgment.
So, just to clarify, you were wounded, so you never found Saint Argenta's ship, is that right?
Yes. I rushed to Theodora the moment I could walk again, and I insisted on going back to Solace Prime to defend the relic from the heretics. But I was told that the warp had destroyed the old route to the planet, and that plotting a new one would take a great deal of time and effort. As if there could be anything more important than protecting the faith and hunting down servants of the archenemy. In any event, the route was lost, and all knowledge of it died in the attack on the ship along with the old navigator. But now we have a new lead, the data that we collected in the cultist shrine on Footfall. I don't care what that reprobate we executed said. There must be a way to track them down. Tell me, rogue traitor, will you help me in this undertaking? Will you help me find this great relic and return it to the people of the Imperium?
If it's important to you, I will help.
Argenta walks up and places her hand on your shoulder.
So be it, rogue traitor. As I stand here before the warrant, the embodiment of the Emperor's will marked by his own hand, I vow that I will not relent until the holy relic has been returned and the heretics punished. And may the light be with us both on this path.
To what do I owe this visit?
You wanted to discuss the nature of your mission.
Yes, but not here. I wouldn't want our conversation to be gossip fodder on the bridge and in the officers' mess.
Heinrichs nods slightly.
Thank you for finding an opportunity to talk. I trust now would be a good time to explain the reason for my return aboard your ship. I welcome the chance to assist the Inquisition with its inquiries, Van Calix. Lord Captain, your enthusiasm is commendable.
The interrogator smiles, but his eyes remain cold.
To business, then. The cult of the Final Dawn. The madmen preach their heretical doctrine among the denizens of the Coronis Expanse, and instigate crimes against the throne and humanity. One such crime took place in your protectorate. The Lord Inquisitor considered it necessary to have one of his acolytes accompany the rogue trader on the voyage into the corrupted region. I also need to meet with one of my observers on the capital world of your domain. 4. Lore, Imperium succeeded. Why would Ordo Xeno's agents investigate a cake's cult? You are well versed in how the Inquisition is organized, Styx. Yes, initially our arrival in the Coronis Expanse was dictated by the need to fight Xenos. But there is more. The cult is tangentially related to my main specialization. Perhaps I will be able to reveal the full truth someday, but right now I ask you to display humility and patience. A chaos cult in my protectorate. Heinrichs, are you laying an accusation against my dynasty? Chaos treads softly, Styx. The main danger of secret cults and sects is that they are like seeds. They can remain in the ground for decades, safe from all scrutiny, until an opportunity to sprout, grow, and bear monstrous fruit presents itself. The emergence of a cult on one of the rogue traders' planets does not mean the dynasty head himself is a chaos worshipper. Having said that, it should be noted that Theodora von Valancius was famous for her loose interpretation of the freedoms granted by the warrant.
Heinrichs regards you with a probing look.
A bloodline can be stained by ancestral transgressions. If it is indeed so, it is in your best interest to do whatever necessary to redeem yourself, and then, perhaps, you will get a chance to salvage your dynasty's reputation. The Lord Inquisitor mentioned in his letter that he is willing to show lenience toward my actions that would otherwise be interpreted as radical.
Heinrichs nods.
That is correct. I should show greater tolerance for the mistakes of a newly appointed rogue trader. To be frank, I am surprised. The Lord Inquisitor is not the type to indulge the weakness of soul and mind, even in someone who only recently accepted the burden of a lofty title. You have spies on the von Valancius worlds? The person I mentioned is not a spy but a secretary in the Administratum Department on Darganus. The planet's governor and Theodora were fully aware of his status. His duty is to fulfill the sacred oath to the Golden Throne and eliminate threats to the Imperium, which the Coronis Expanse has in abundance. His name is Achilleus Scalander. As soon as we contact Darganus, I will introduce you as the new head of the dynasty. I am sure you will appreciate the presence of such an advisor among your subjects, and I suggest you heed his words at least occasionally. I want to know more about this cult of the Final Dawn. Chaos worshippers. Most often agents of the throne run into lone renegades stirring up the rabble. Insane prophets and hysteric visionaries preaching the end of days. A passing comet, a mutant rebellion, an onslaught of monsters. Each time they come up with a new reason why people should prostrate themselves and quiver in fear. Much effort and the blood of those loyal to the Golden Throne were spent before we established the connection between those heretics. However, the cult of the Final Dawn is something greater than a gaggle of misguided seers and fortune-tellers. They cleverly spread their agents all over the Coronis Expanse, disseminating heresy among honest people on the Imperial worlds. There is a certain strategy to their actions that changes whenever we get too close. And finally, they have enough military power to have had the 2 ships that we had sent after them later discovered as wreckage. The growing difficulty in making warp jumps is detrimental to us but is unlikely to inconvenience those who engage in vile sorcery day in, day out.
Heinrich sighs.
After the events on Rykad Minories, I suspected the cult might have built its nest inside Winterscale's domain, but the latest reports indicate it is your protectorate that is harboring heretics. Being in your entourage improves my chances of getting closer to their secrets. I have already agreed to give you a place aboard my ship. What else? The rogue trader should deliver me to the system that contains the industrial world of Kiava Gamma. I will then accompany you to the surface and determine what the cult is planning and how it intends to use the resources that have fallen into their clutches, which may very well include the blessed engines of the Adeptus Mechanicus and even the followers of the Omnicia themselves. I will be frank, the answer to this question is unlikely to please either of us. The machinations of chaos usually go beyond solely inflicting countless deaths and destruction. Having their plans come to fruition would lead to far more terrible consequences. One of the systems in the Coronis Expanse is already lost. May the Emperor protect us from watching this tragedy play out again. Let us assume Kiavagama has fallen to heresy. What then? Will you again propose we destroy an entire planet?
Heinrich stares you down.
On Reichad Minories, you made a decision that sent billions of souls into the grasp of the archenemy. An unreasonable and unforgettably high price for a small handful of people saved by your mercy. Do I consider it a worthy exchange? I most certainly do not. Will I make every effort to make sure such an exchange does not happen again? Of course I will. Sentimentality is a luxury I cannot afford. I do not believe you lack compassion. You did not stop me after all, although you certainly could have tried to.
The interrogator's eyes narrow.
I haven't said I would not like to be able to afford such luxury. In fact, deep down I understand why you acted that way. I have yet to eliminate the understanding and acceptance within myself, but I will. Why did your suspicion fall on Kiavagama? Disjointed pieces of data that finally merged into a single picture. Additionally, not long ago a vessel from that world arrived on footfall. The reports from the crew were confused and alarming, making me fear a planet-wide rebellion. We met a Chaos Space Marine on Reichad Minories. Do we risk running into his brothers? I have no doubt it will happen sooner or later, Styx. Chaos Marines siding with the cult is very, very bad news. Most likely they kept away until recently, pulling their puppet strings from a respectable distance. These traitors seldom show up alone. The best we can count on is having to deal with just a squad of Chaos Space Marines in the Coronis Expanse, and not an entire company. I won't let anyone throw their weight around on my worlds, be they servants of chaos, Xenos, or heretics. A commendable aspiration for a person who holds the fates of billions of people and dozens of imperial worlds in his hands. Which is why you need to be ever more vigilant when looking for seeds of corruption on your planets, lest they sprout someday and spell doom for whatever is tangled up in their roots. That is enough discussion about the archenemy's servants. Tell me about the Drukhari who stole Reikad's son.
Heinrich winces.
The Drukhari, one of the branches of the Eldari, an ancient and vicious Xenos race. Those creatures are a living terror to ordinary people who fall prey to their raids, for the simple reason that the victims are not killed outright but instead become their playthings. Just as you and I need air to survive, the Drukhari require psychic energy born from torment and pain, which they extract from their captives with uncanny expertise. Their ships, which are difficult to mistake for any other, arrive suddenly and undetected. Their stealth technologies greatly surpass the capabilities of standard Imperium augur arrays. The objective of their raids is never to capture a world or a ship. No, they are only interested in fresh victims. After filling their holds with living captives, they disappear into the webway, a different dimension, which conceals their greatest stronghold. Kamarak, the dark city of the Drukhari, from which none can hope to escape.
Heinrich studies your expression.
I do not know why the Drukhari stole Rykad's son and brought about the fulfillment of the cult's prophecies. Perhaps the Xenos themselves have played into the archenemy's designs. Or perhaps Aurora's divinations, in fact, describe the Drukhari's actions. There is only one thing I can say with absolute certainty. There is no alliance between the cult of the Final Dawn and the Xenos. It is simply impossible. I must go about my business. Is there anything else I need to know? Let me put it this way. You may think whatever you want of me, but my goal is not to hinder you. I am here to help you in the fight against foes you may not even be aware of. You have my word that I will provide every assistance in uprooting the heresy that has sprouted on the Von Valancius worlds while their master was away, and that I will try to be more patient with the less grievous flaws the bearers of the warrant are sometimes known to have.
Heinrich inclines his head.
Thank you for sparing the time, Lord Captain.
Allow me to thank you again for helping me with the cargo, Sherin. I am sure the Ashmags who squirreled away my goods won't give up so easily, and I'll hear more about their scheming yet. Let's strike a deal, Sherin. I will watch your back, if you do me a favor and watch mine. Well, enough jokes. Is there something you wanted?
Was there some business you wish to discuss?
Oh, Sherin, I did manage to spark your interest. Allow me to invite you to a more private place. My words are meant for your ears alone.
The flickering light of dozens of candles plays across Jay's face, making her small smile appear even more mysterious.
Shireen, the Exalted One himself brought us together the day you crossed Vladame's threshold. He led us to the cargo and gave his blessing for its return. Do you know what people on my world say when such a thing happens? What's gained is to be shared with your neighbor.
She points at the containers in front of her. One contains a polished Aeldari rifle, a rare model, and the other holds an ornate sword.
I am sharing what I've gained with you. Please accept these humble gifts in honor of our wildly successful, though suddenly struck, friendship.
A truly wonderful gift. I accept it with gratitude.
I knew you would appreciate the Xenos' mastery of their craft.
Jay beams at you, curling a lock of black hair around an augmented finger. After a brief pause, she awkwardly continues.
So, the matter I wanted to discuss with you is related to my business. You know that I sell Xeno artifacts to interested Imperial subjects and Imperial trinkets to Xenos. Business is going well, my network runs even without my participation. But when it comes to expansion, well, that is where I hit a wall.
Continue.
Rivals envious of my success.
Jay throws up her hands.
Falco especially. I am certain the theft of the cargo was his doing, but I can never predict what that Ashmag will do next. And while the Imperium's authority may be fragmented in the Expanse, it could crack down on people of my profession at any moment.
Go on.
If the rogue trader put in a good word for me with the servants of the Adeptus Administratum, I could become an official trade representative of the Imperium. Just imagine it. A little scrap of paper will offer me and my agents protection against Ashmag schemes, far better than any refractor field. And even the Inquisition will have to think twice before they mess with me, because I'll be a representative of the law in my own right. And the best part of all is that this will cost you precisely nothing, Shireen. All you have to do is stop by the Administratum Palace and obtain a certificate from the Master of Seals. My informants tell me that the palace is located on Darganus, your capital world. You see how everything has aligned so wonderfully? And of course, I will repay you in kind.
How do I benefit from your gaining official status?
besides being in receipt of my eternal gratitude, Shireen?
Jay playfully raises a brow.
Won't it be beneficial to have someone in your retinue with the weight of authority behind them, rather than just another pawn? One slip of paper and I will be able to extend my network to systems far beyond footfall. My agents will be your eyes and ears throughout the expanse. Exalted One bless you, Shireen. I couldn't find a better business partner in all the expanse.
Jay ponders for a moment and then graces you with a dazzling smile.
Friendship is a gift from the Exalted One, and we must cherish it. And you will have no complaints about our friendship, Shireen. I may not be a trade representative of the Imperium just yet, but I can still help you with whatever you need. You must have some faction in mind that you would like to establish relations with? The Severe Drishans? The hot-headed pirates of the Kazbalika? You merely need to use the right words, like a key for a lock, and people will open their hearts to you. Or their wallets. I will arrange everything. You merely have to ask. Not a problem, Shireen. I will have my people put in a good word for you in the right circles. I will humbly wait until you steer your vessel toward Darganus. The Mercatum Tabula Officiale. It sounds almost as majestic as the Warrant of Trade.
At this archetype rank, characters gain a special archetype ability that can be used as a heroic act or desperate measure. These abilities become available depending on the party's momentum value. If momentum reaches 175, the heroic act becomes available to the character. If it drops below 25, then it may be time to employ a desperate measure. The Grand Strategist chooses one combat tactics area. Every ally inside that area gains an extra turn with 1 AP and 2 MP at the start of the Grand Strategist's next turn. For every enemy that was killed in the selected combat tactics area, this AP is increased by +1 up to a maximum of 3, and MP by +2 up to a maximum of 6. Lord Captain, we are once more within reach of the von Valancius Protectorate. Of utmost urgency is restoring communication with your planets and bestowing the wisdom of your decrees upon their stewards. Developing colonies, claiming new territories, and establishing trade links, all this is now your privilege and burden. A mobile mining outpost assembled in accordance with the blessed standard template construct. This small industrial complex can be deployed on practically any world, however inhospitable. The serf clan assigned to it will devote itself to the maintenance of its sacred mechanisms and the extraction of resources needed by the rogue trader. Travel between systems is fraught with mortal peril and takes place in another dimension known as the warp. Only a navigator can plot a course through the warp to other star systems. Click the circular button at the bottom of the screen to have the ship's navigator chart new routes to the system you have selected. Standard scanning could not reveal a route to the selected system, but you can still get there by spending points of Navigator's Insight to plot a guaranteed direct path. Click LMB on the system and use Navigator's Insight to chart the course. Navigator's Insight is a special resource acquired by exploring the Coronis Expanse, by scanning new systems, anomalies, or participating in non-combat space events. The navigator of the flagship uses it to build new warp routes, as well as to make them more stable and safe, in as much as it is possible. Lord Captain, the ship's senior officers request an audience with you. They are humbly awaiting you on the bridge.
Lord Captain, if I may request your attention for a moment, I must report a series of highly dangerous violations that have taken place in the fuel compartment. The Master-at-Arms is ignoring my demands and I am thus forced to appeal directly to you. The Fuelers have founded a sect of some kind. This group practices fire worship of the Emperor, and has been burning promethium near the fuel lines. I beg you to stop this madness before we all go up in flames.
I should point out that there have been no incidents in the fuel compartment so far, and that the beliefs of this sect do not affect the obedience of the workers or their efficiency in any way. All assemblies are conducted strictly after hours with the permission of their superiors. However, if you find their practices unacceptable, we will put a stop to them immediately.
Does the Ecclesiarchy recognize this cult, or is it considered heretical? This matter is beyond my purview. Let Confessor Adalbert be the judge of such business.
A plump, rosy-cheeked old man steps forward, his voice deep and sonorous.
The Emperor protects your lordship. I can assure you that there is no heresy festering in the fuel compartment. The sect of the Fire Prophecies has been tested for purity and found to be in accordance with the creed. Their leader, who calls himself the Oracle of Fire, is devout and submissive to his servants. They do not twist the sacred teachings, and as for their chosen forms of worship, these are either rare nor remarkable. Many such minor cults exist in the Imperium with the full approval of the Ecclesiarchy. Does this Oracle of Fire really make prophecies? At least he and his flock believe that the Emperor reveals glimpses of the possible future to him in the sacred flame. Occasionally, his visions do come true, or so his followers convince themselves. We do not know whether the grace of the God Emperor truly lies upon him, or if he is merely a charlatan, or perhaps a blissful lunatic, or a wicked rogue who possesses psychic power not tempered by his will.
A croaking voice interrupts the confessor's words.
Lord Captain, as choirmaster of the Astropathic Choir, I must be watchful of any threats to the ship's safety originating from the Immaterium. I have heard rumors about this oracle, and so I have sent my adepts to see him. They assert that the man is a psyker. This man who speaks to the warp is a danger to himself and to the entire vessel. Both law and common sense dictate that he should be thrown into a holding cell, tranquilized, and handed over to the Inquisition to be sent to Holy Terra. Alternatively, you may also dispose of him in some other way. What? They are burning my Prometheum?
The amount of residue accumulated in the drainage tanks was so laughably small that it was not even worth recording. If there were any real misappropriation of the ship's resources happening here, I would have already punished those involved, Lord Captain.
The last sentence carries a faint note of regret.
I know just how to handle this cult.
We stand ready to carry out any order.
As you wish, Lord Captain. I will warn my people to be on their guard.
I'll be your beacon in the darkness.
This one's going down. Leave the hole strewn across the stars. Macro cannon, volley! Fire right now!
Bloody throne, we're gonna die. What's taking so long with the engines? Three.
Set the course. Another salvo! Leave their hull strewn across the stars! Fire right now!
Two.
The time has come.
One.
Fire the large batteries! Set the course. Another salvo! Leave their hull strewn across the stars!
Activate the Geller field. Emergency warp jump in 3.
Onward! Fire right now!
They pale before our mastery of the void.
Planets in the Coronis expanse are teeming with valuable resources. Before these resources can be harvested, however, an extraction needs to be set up on the world's surface. Scan the planet, then select the icon of the resource you are interested in to deploy an extraction. Click Accept to confirm your choice. You can see how many extractions you have available at the bottom of the screen. Resources are required to develop colonies and complete contracts. You can also use them to trade with various factions. New contracts are now available in the journal, J. Contracts are requests issued by your colonies. By fulfilling them, you can obtain resources, increase your profit factor, or receive unique items. Sometimes fulfilling contracts offered by one colony can affect the productivity of your other colonies. Fulfilling contracts costs a certain amount of resources or a share of your profit factor. A contract's description contains both the costs associated with it and the reward you will receive. You can fulfill a contract by selecting it in the journal and clicking Complete Contract. Imperium cartographers and chroniclers know this place well. Long ago the planet was a prosperous outpost capable of eclipsing even footfall. There used to be a Cyclopean tomb station on its orbit, the final resting place of Cornelius Soto, one of the discoverers of the Coronis expanse. The tomb gave its name to the entire system. However, about 400 years ago, an unknown cosmic body rammed into the station, causing it to collapse onto the planet. Not only did the catastrophe kill the settlers, it also made the world uninhabitable for centuries. The crater formed by the station's impact can still be observed from orbit. Soto's tomb became a sepulchre for the entire planet.
This sordid place has neither life nor loot. But knowing the nasty tricks that life can pull is a treasure in its own right.
As I am now fated to be your shadow, Domin Styx, we must perform a ritual that will seal our bond, for it pleases the Undying One. Let us speak on the bridge, and I will take us to a place appropriate for the ritual.
What is this ritual?
Come, and you will see. I do not wish to speak of the mysteries of the blood-spun web over the Vox. This knowledge is not meant for the ears of the uninitiated.
I will be there.
Thank you, Domin. I wish to inform you that the sacred rituals addressed to the spirit of the ship have been performed. The tech liturgy and the rite of the machine blessing ended with a data meditation in order to comprehend the nature of the miracle sent down by the Omnisia. Acquisition of sacred knowledge has not been recorded. How the spirit of the void ship was able to call upon the power of the machine god and activate the warp drive remains an unknown. Yet, during my meditative ritual, the Omnisia gave me an equally valuable revelation. The sacred spirit that lives in the bowels of the ship's mechanisms differs from other analogous forms. This spirit holds a unique power that cannot be called anything less than a blessing of the machine god.
So, what does this mean?
Hypothesis: in extremis, the ship's spirit is capable of making unpredictable calculations and actions. It is impossible to predict how it will behave in any given situation, but I believe the spirit is currently showing obedience, at least for now. I recommend that we continue monitoring the ship and be prepared for new manifestations.
Remind me what you wanted to find out.
When the ship's warp engine was filled with the motive force despite the massive computational errors, a true technological miracle was achieved. No doubt it was the grace of the Omnisia, but no such occurrences have been described in the catalogue before. Hoping to gain sacred knowledge of the nature of what happened, I embarked on blessed research and prayer. The Omnisia knows all, comprehends all. A small human dwelling stands on this barren, deserted planet. Scouts report that an old hermit lives there, who spends his days in prayer to the Emperor. To the Lord Captain's surprise, the old hermit turned out to be a navigator. And when the old man discovered the noble status of his visitor, he willingly recounted his tale. He had retreated to this planet long ago, back when he was still in his youth, after he had realized that his mind would not withstand frequent forays into the Immaterium, the realm of the Argenemy. The hermit spoke with pride about how he had worshipped the Emperor each and every moment of his life. But when he mentioned the golden light of the Astronomicon, his voice quivered. When his guests left, he stared after them for a long time, his gaze filled with sadness.